Imagine waking up one morning and finding out someone from another country just landed on your beach and now says they're your king. Sounds impossible, right? Well, in the year 1066, that's exactly what happened to England. And by the end of that year, everything changed: the rulers, the language, the castles, even the future of the country. Stick with me, because by the end of this story, you'll see why one battle over 900 years ago still matters today. Let's start at the beginning. In early 1066, England had a serious problem. The king, Edward the Confessor, died. But he didn't have any children. That meant there was no clear next king. Now picture a giant golden throne sitting in the middle of the room and three powerful men staring at it. The first was Harold, Godwin's son. He was an important English leader and very powerful. Many people in England supported him. The second was Harold Hardrada, a fierce Viking king from Norway. He believed he had a right to the throne because of old agreements between kings. The third was William, the Duke of Normandy. Normandy was part of what we now call France. William believed King Edward had promised him the crown. He also claimed that Harold had once sworn an oath to support him. But when Edward died, Harold crowned himself king anyway. William was furious. However, before William could even sail to England, something else happened. The Viking king, Harold Hardrada, attacked first. He landed in the north of England with thousands of soldiers. King Harold had to move fast. He marched his army nearly 200 miles to meet the Vikings. Remember, this was before cars or trains. They walked the whole way in heavy armor. And somehow, Harold won. At the Battle of Stamford Bridge, the Viking army was defeated. It was a huge victory. The English soldiers must have felt proud and completely exhausted. But here's where things get wild. Just days later, William finally landed in the south of England with his own army. That meant Harold and his tired soldiers had to march all the way back down another 250 miles to face a brand new enemy who hadn't fought yet. It was like running a marathon and then being told you had to run another one immediately. On October 14, 1066, the two armies met at the Battle of Hastings. The English chose a strong position on top of a hill. They formed something called a shield wall. Imagine soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder, their shields locked tightly together like a giant wooden fence. It was very hard to break through. William's army fought differently. He had archers who shot arrows from far away. He had foot soldiers with swords. And he had knights on horseback. These knights could charge forward quickly and hit hard. The battle lasted all day. It was noisy, dangerous, and confusing. At one point, William's soldiers thought he had been killed. Some of them started to panic. So William rode into the middle of the battlefield, lifted his helmet, and showed everyone he was still alive. That one brave moment stopped his army from running away. Slowly, the English shield wall began to weaken. Some English soldiers chased after Norman troops who pretended to retreat. When they broke formation, it created gaps in the shield wall. By late afternoon, the wall finally collapsed. King Harold was killed during the fighting. Some stories say an arrow hit him in the eye, but historians aren't completely sure. What we do know is that once Harold died, the English army fell apart. William had won the battle. But winning a battle doesn't mean everyone agrees you're king. Some English leaders still refuse to accept him. London did not surrender right away. And in the north, people rebelled. William decided to make sure no one would challenge him again. Between 1069 and 1070, he ordered something very harsh called the Harrying of the North. His soldiers burned villages, destroyed crops, and killed farm animals. Without food or homes, many people starved. It was cruel and caused great suffering. But William wanted to send a clear message: do not rebel against me. After that, resistance mostly stopped. William then made another big change. He replaced almost all the important English nobles with his own Norman friends. Before 1066, England was ruled by Anglo-Saxons. After 1066, it was ruled by Normans. The new rulers spoke Norman French. The common people still spoke Old English. This changed the English language in a big way. For example, farmers used the word cow for the animal. But the Norman lords who ate the meat used the French word beef. That's why today we have different words for animals and the meat we eat. William also built castles all over England. Before he came, there were very few castles. After he became king, they seemed to appear everywhere. At first, many were made of wood and built quickly on hills. Later, they were rebuilt in stone. Castles were strong and hard to attack. But they were also symbols. When villagers looked up and saw a giant castle towering above them, they were reminded that new rulers were in charge. One famous castle William began building was the Tower of London. It still stands today, nearly 1,000 years later. William also wanted to know exactly what he owned. So in 1085, he ordered a huge survey of England. Officials traveled across the country asking detailed questions. Who owns this land? How many animals do you have? How much is your farm worth? All of this information was written down in a giant book called the Domesday Book. It was one of the most detailed records of its time. It helped William collect taxes and stay in control. Nothing was hidden. Now let's ask the big question. Was William kind? No. He could be harsh and even cruel. Was he determined and smart? Very much so. He didn't just win a battle. He completely changed how England was ruled. He strengthened the power of the king. He connected England more closely to Europe. He reshaped its language, its buildings, and its future. Every king and queen of England after him can trace their family line back to William. That means his influence never really ended. So here's the main thing to remember: 1066 wasn't just another year in history. It was a turning point. William didn't just conquer a country, he transformed it. And the next time you see a giant stone castle, or hear words like government or court, remember their story began with a man who crossed the sea and changed everything. If you enjoyed learning history in a way that's easy to understand, you'll love the next story about the Viking king who almost won the crown that same year. Stick around, the adventure isn't over yet.